And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at a game by Inka and Markus Brand called The Rajas of the Ganges. Now, the Brands have been turning into my favorite duo of designers. They've made some really great games. This year they made the Exit games, they made a great party game, just good stuff across the board. So today we're taking a look at this game here, what is the theme of this game? In 16th century India, you are being some Raja, and you are going to basically be influential in your area. Okay, a lot of the hooch games don't really necessarily, the theme doesn't matter, it's all about mechanisms. This one has dice in it, dice as a resource in the game, and you're going to also it has an interesting method of victory where 2 victory point tracks are going to cross. Here's how it plays. Okay, so here's the board, and what we want to talk about is there's 2 tracks on the board. There's a fame track, you'll be moving your marker around on the fame track, and you have a money track where you'll be keeping track of your money as you pay and lose it. If you get your money and fame track to cross each other, you win the game. If multiple people do it on the same turn, then whoever has the most fame wins. But the first person to make their 2 markers cross each other wins. Now, players are going to be doing that through a worker placement style game. You're going to start with 3 workers, and you have the possibility of getting up to 2 more. If you get your fame marker past a certain point, your money marker, or if you move your boat down the river, you can get a worker when you do those. Once you get your second worker, you'll remove your third. Each player is also going to be utilizing a resource of dice. You'll have a little statue here that can hold dice, so you can put them in different spots. You have enough room to hold different dice. Each die is a specific number. When you get a die as a resource over the course of the game, you roll it. So you have numbers and colors. You also have your own little board here, which you're going to be building up. Now on a player's turn, and each turn, one person's first. That person has this little elephant figure to show they go first. You're going to be placing workers on the board. When you place a worker on the board, some spots to place a worker are free. Like, for example, this water spot here is free to put a worker. If I put them in the spot next to it, it's going to cost money. And there are spots on the board that are going to require a specific number. And there are some spots on the board that will require a specific color. The spots down here at the bottom of the board are pretty easy. These over here just give you a die. You take that color die and roll it immediately. Here you can trade in 1 color for 2 of another color. Here you can move your boat down the river. You do it on this, and you give up a 1, 2, or a 3 die, and then you can move your boat 1, 2, or 3 spaces, depending on which die you've given up. When you move a boat down the river, you ignore spaces other boats are in, so if green gets 3, they would go 1, 2, 3, and the spot that you land on gives you some sort of bonus, which might be karma, 2 dice of your choice, 3 fame points, money, sometimes points depending on things that you've done. I just mentioned fame. I should mention that fame is kept up here in the top of the board, and each player has a cube on fame, and you can move your cube, you can lose a fame to switch a die to its opposite side. You can also go over here in the chambers and do different things. This will give you the first person marker and 2 fame points. Otherwise, first player marker moves clockwise. This gives you 2 dice of your choice, and you get to draw a white chip. There's some white chips over here, and you'll just draw the chopped chip, and so this one gives me a die of my choice. Fantastic. Some of them are going to let you get karma. You'll see number 3 lets you get karma. Down here, you can move your boat 6 spaces. So there's various things that the chambers can do. And then there's the big action here, which is expanding your province. You're in the quarry, you're going to be building more things on your province board. When you do that, you are going to pick which province tile you want. They're separated into different piles and colors based on their costs. And if I want to build this tile, for example, I would have to give up 8 pips worth of dice. Now, I don't have that, as you can see in my board. So really, the only die that I could build right now is I could build this one here. This costs 5, and I have a 6 die. So I could pay that and then place this on my board. When I place a tile on my board, all I have to do is connect one road so that it goes back to the province. You can orient it any way you want. When you place it so that it connects to one of these outside bonus spaces, you'll get that bonus. So here this would give me 3 coins. Some give you a die, they can give you coins, points, fame, as you connect these across the board. After you place it, you're also going to get points and or money based on what's on it. Many of the tiles that you place have temples on them. Sometimes multiple different types of temples. Whenever you place those, you're going to get fame based on where your marker is on that particular temple. So if I place out this temple here and my marker's here, I'm going to get 3 fame points. And there's various ways to increase the fame points you get for different temples. If you place out markets, these are markets here. There's 3 different types of goods for markets. You simply get the money that's on them. In fact, you can get that money later on if you put your workers out here in the marketplace. Here I can take 3 different markets and get the money for them. Or here I can get as many markets of the same type of good as I want worth of money, as long as I pay a die that's equal to that many markets. That's pretty much it then. You're just going to be continually going around and around until after everyone's placed their workers, the next round begins, and then the players, the turn order passes to either the player who picked the chamber or to just the next clockwise player. You can play with a variant, where over here on this side of the board, you have various other tiles that you can draw, and you can get all sorts of different bonuses from these different tiles based on how you connect things at the bottom. You would also play with all your workers at once instead of starting with 3 and getting 3 more, but you would also have spots to keep fewer dice on that side. And then finally, there's another little module where you basically just have little tiles that you can place on the river to change the spots on the river to different things. That's how you play. Okay, so first of all, dice. You know that I like dice. These are really good dice. I really like the quality of these dice. They look sharp, they look good, they're fun to roll, they look really great. My only complaint maybe about the dice is that the dice fit into these spots on the board. So I've had players like put their die there instead of the worker, which it looks like it should go, but you put the worker out and you just pay the die. The board itself is colorful and looks good. I think I might have liked the board slightly bigger. I mean, it's beautiful and all, but some things like this marketplace here in the middle kind of gets lost in the shuffle. It's not that easy to see when you're looking at the whole board in general. And even though the different temples are different colors and different shapes, this still can kind of look kind of like a mess of colors. That's being nitpicky though. I really do like how everything looks. I do like how this board looks when you fill it up. And I really like this. Is not necessary. You could just say you can only keep 8 dice. But having the statue hold your dice is a really cool way to do things. The tiles are a little small that you get over here, but other than that, and I guess stacking these workers up, they do keep falling, is a bit of a pain, but really other than that, the whole game works really well. I should mention that some of the spots here on the board, when you get to them, you get some sort of bonus, and then this game has a nice thing where you move the tile up farther in case you lose money so you don't get the bonus again, but there's bonuses all over the board. Here, when my fame gets here, I can increase the value of one of my temples. And when my fame goes over here, I get 2 karma. So there's, and this stuff is really clear. Even like where you put the workers at the beginning of the game, it shows you a silhouette of a worker. So I don't really need to look at anything when I'm setting this game up. It's pretty easy. Pretty great components. And I should also mention that everything fits very nicely into the insert, which was molded for these exact components, which is always a nice thing. Wow! First of all, like I said, beautiful production, but this game just keeps me intrigued the whole time. Now, I do tend to like worker placement games, but this one gives me a lot of options, and that's something I like in worker placement games, but you're utilizing your dice. I thought, and when I played the first time, I said, man, why do I even have spots for 8 dice here? I was constantly running out of dice. Dice are such a precious resource. In fact, at the beginning of the game, I looked at the board and I said, okay, there's a spot to put a worker, and you get 1 die. So I guess if you're doing that, you're really, desperate. And then I ended up doing it over the course of the game because when you grab those tiles, especially the ones that cost 9 or 10 points to put on your board, you can give up a lot of your dice. And so the game is doing various things at one time. It's a worker placement game where you're collecting resources and you're trying to win. Again, you're thinking, oh, is it trying to get victory points? Well, it could be. The fame, if you consider those victory points, and money. Now, money goes up and down. You're spending money to do things, so it's fluctuating. But if you put your full effort into money, you will make it zoom around the board. We thought it was interesting that money goes up to 180 or something. Has anyone ever never moved their fame and move the money all around the board? I doubt it, but it's possible. Likely you're going to have them cross at one point, but you can run one strategy more than the others. Like you can say, I'm going to spend a lot of my money and just shoot that fame around the board as fast as I can, or I'm going to really push. There's many ways you build a lot of markets in your area. You can start pumping into money. Now, it's every 2 money per fame point. The tracks are not, equal in that regard, but that makes sense too because it's easier to get money than fame. Those spots, like when you roll the dice, is a 1 better than a 6? No, a 6 is almost always better because when you're buying the province tiles, higher numbers help. However, sometimes you want those low numbers, that 1, which lets you go first, that's a useful thing. The 2, which gives you lots of extra dice, that's pretty handy for 1 worker and a die. And so I kind of like how they kind of balance that out. Then there's the river race in the middle of the board. How fast do you want to run down it? You can run down it really quickly to get your worker, but if you take your time, you can get a lot of bonuses. So the game is all about get bonuses here, do this, move your temple tracks up so when you place them, you score more fame points. And there's a lot of concepts, but they all work together pretty seamlessly. And, there's a lot of games out there where I'm like, you need to play this many times before you grok it. This is not one of those. This is a game that I think just after a few rounds of playing, you're like, okay, this is how this works. Now, that knowing the best strategies and stuff, that's going to come later, but I think it works well. And the variants, both. I like the variants. The river tiles are fine, I guess. Were people getting bored with the river? But having the all 6 workers at the beginning of the game, that definitely changes the game up. The game also has this quickly approaching climax to it. At the beginning, you're like, wow, I moved a little bit on money, I moved a little bit on fame, and after a couple turns, you're like, are these ever going to meet? And all of a sudden, it's like, woo, and it's a super fast race. So, yes, the game is very mechanical in some senses, but the beauty of the game, the fun of it, I like collecting dice and rolling them, and I like, there's several things that you enjoy. If you like building up your tiles and making roads like Carcassonne, that part's in the game. If you like worker placement, that's in the game. If you just like getting dice and using those dice to do things, that's in the game. And there's not a ton of interaction, but there is, blocking other players. But there's also all different cool little bonuses you get for doing things. And when you finish it, you have a bit of a sense of accomplishment, and I do like that. So recommend it for me. I enjoyed this one a lot. Rajas of the Ganges.
Dice Tower Judgment approved.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.
Yeah?